Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to the season 2 premiere of the AEPI Go podcast, or whatever we're calling it now. We decided to get rid of GoCast, but haven't come up with a new name yet. But anyway, we're happy to be here and back in your ear holes, and looking forward to good discussion about Second Amendment and whatnot. So we have got Bobby here back after a while. How's it going?
Hey everyone, it's good to be back. It's been a crazy couple months, but
I like the branding on the T-shirt there. It just kind of
Oh, thanks. I have a few of these shirts. I don't wear them too often. They're kind of my home shirts and my errand shirts. Yeah, I've gotten a couple of interesting looks from people.
Are they for sale?
But I would say they are for sale. Yeah.
Shameless plug-in.
And where can we buy them?
Oh,
We'll put a link in the show notes. You have a link?
There
We will link in the
is.
description.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes. It's a long URL.
All right. Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
buy a couple once you send that link, and I'm gonna wear them in the most awkward places I can think of. Funeral homes. Let's go.
Cool. Yeah, I would say the sizes run a bit smaller. So I'm wearing a large, and it's not like skin tight on me, but it's not like my other t-shirts that are larges. So I would say like error on the side of like the larger size.
I thought you were just
versus
working
the
out,
smaller
man.
size.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been working out, but I don't think that really affects anything.
That's what I keep on telling my wife.
Yeah, Reno May. If you guys, know Reno May, yeah, Reno May. He's saying that he's gonna start cyberbullying people who aren't in shape, and I don't want to be cyberbullied.
If you request
No, just
cyberbullying,
joking.
it's one of my specialties. I've been trained by the best of the best, so I'll be happy if you want some fat shaming
yes.
sent your way for motivational purposes. Reach out to me.
Sure, I'm down for that.
You will receive it.
I'm down for that. No, all right. Fat shaming always helps with
Exactly, and
motivation
I'm
for
pretty
me.
sure we're on his shit list anyway. So it all works out.
Oh yeah.
Well, he
Fun
can try
times.
all 3 ounces I have.
Great.
Well, what do we do?
Hey,
Why does
Malcolm.
he hate us?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Malcolm.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey,
Good to
Malcolm.
see you, man.
Good to
Oh,
see
yeah.
you too. It's been a while.
I'm glad you're still alive.
Yes, still alive, still working.
Hope everything's-
Still,
Yeah, man. Hope everything's
doing
going
things.
okay. Hope everything's going well.
Things are going. I would say some things are going well, and other things are not going well. But
Nice.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Well,
So,
we're here
like,
to support you, dude.
the overall,
So
overall
have-
good things.
Got it.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, so did the new San Jose rules already apply to your business as you're setting it up, like the surveillance crap and
Yes. So this is the interesting part. So it is provisional, but they are recommending people do it. So basically, they're enforcing it without it actually being law. So it's a little bit interesting. The ordinances that I've read over, I mean, it's pretty iffy. I think the biggest thing, well, I mean, like we all know that like the biggest part of the new ordinances is video recording. But I mean, just as a business owner, I feel like video recording is important just to begin with. Like the gym I go to, they have video recording. So I mean, like, I feel like it's not a big ask to have video recording, but there's a few layers on top of it. Like one is that it needs to be at least 20 frames per second, and it needs to be all stored locally on site, and it needs to be stored for at least 30 days. And the big kicker is that in the ordinance, in their original ordinance, I'm not sure if it's been modified, the police can request your recordings without a warrant, which is definitely not constitutional,
Little
in my
bit.
opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very, very
The little-known
shady.
Fourth Amendment.
And if it is requested upon me, yeah, I will definitely not be giving up any recordings.
I mean, that seems worth
without a
taking to
warrant.
court. And besides, I
Yeah.
mean, if they need it that bad, they can get a warrant on the phone in 5 minutes. That's not a big burden on them, and I want to make it
Yes.
harder for cops to do their jobs.
No, it's not. 100%. 100%. So, I mean, in terms of like enforcement, like they're still on like the very initial steps of enforcement, but they are like enforcing like the camera recording and being able to view the.
It's the soft tyranny of veiled threats. Yeah.
Yep.
Fun times. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like other than that, has anybody been to the range lately? Like, has anybody bought a new gun since we last?
No,
met?
I've been focusing on the other aspects of urban survival. I've been doing some backyard farming. I've been stocking up on ammo. I've done a little bit of target practice, shot some stuff, but that's really not what I've been focusing on because right now food shortages are looking real. So I've been focusing on getting backyard rabbit production set up.
Did you guys hear about all these food processing centers that
Dude,
like caught on fire? Like planes
Oh, like
crashing
in
into
you-
them, like just random.
The biggest
brought on
story
fire.
you'll never hear about
Yeah.
ever. It's not on major news sites, and that's kind of why it's gaining notoriety. It's weird. I don't understand why.
is it
this
really
happening.
random, Bobby? Is it really random?
Well,
I
I don't know.
I would say if I were to see long-term data, like how many food processing or distribution centers caught on fire by year, then I guess I could be like, oh, maybe it's
No.
not super big.
I've actually seen the
But
data.
like I mean like it was like
I've
What is
actually
the
14.
annual rate of
was like
airplanes
14.
crashing into distribution plants? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that it's like I would say it's more than likely not random, but I'm not a super conspiracy theorist, I would say, but I do like a good conspiracy theory. I just more for like the lulz than anything else. But I mean, I'm with you, Ralph. Like there's more to like survival than having guns and ammo. But my wife and I are getting on that.
I just
train.
saw the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other, and then it's like when both your neighbors stocked up on guns and ammo, and no one stocked up on food.
Yeah, it's just as important, if not more. Although, if you have enough ammo, you could probably trade for food. But
Yeah,
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to insourcing most of my meat
That-
production in my backyard. I mean, rabbits are. We just had our first litter of kits, and that's 11 rabbits.
Really?
And in 12 weeks, they will be 2 pounds of meat each.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I'm,
that's
You got any chickens?
Yeah.
Got any chickens,
that's
Ralph?
the life.
no. My city doesn't allow chickens, but I mean, how are you going to find out if rabbits don't crow? They don't make sounds unless you kill them too slowly and they scream.
Yeah.
In which case, it sounds like stabbing a teenager. They like scream like a dude. It's really weird. But yeah, as long as you're good about it, they don't make a lot of sound.
Yeah. I mean, Scott, yeah, the answer to
I
the
mean-
same thing. I'm just buying ammo and stocking up on non-perishable food. Really.
I have found some good sales, so I've been stocking up. I'm just hesitant to shoot at the moment, as always. because
Yeah.
I'd rather have more ammo than more practice.
Yeah.
That's probably stupid, but
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
every time I go to the grocery store now, I will literally just like go to what is on sale in the canned food aisle and just pick that up. It's like a couple cans every time I go.
yep.
It's so
Yeah.
easy.
Suddenly, all those preppers seem a lot smarter.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like I
Oh,
did that during
guys.
COVID. Like, I mean, because I went in like the day lockdown was announced, and it was like a mad rush on the grocery store that just like scarred me for life. So I just kind of like stocked up a bunch of crap, and then like I haven't used it. So I hope it hasn't like expired or anything.
So, talking about preppers, there is this thing called Prepper Camp. It is the best thing ever. My wife and I will be there. It is in September, and I've never been, so I can't be like, oh, everyone go. Like I can't say that I've been. And it's like this is something I would like tell other people to go to, but it looks interesting. They have some very cool classes, and I am very excited to go.
Where
to
is
this
it?
Prepper Camp.
Is it in California?
No, no, it's not in California. It is in
Oh.
North Carolina, I believe. So we'll be
Nice.
flying out to North Carolina. I was telling my wife, I was like, oh, I gotta bring my guns. I gotta fill out my guns. My wife's like, oh, you need to fire with your guns. Like no one's gonna have guns there. I'm like, babe, we're going to a prepper camp in North Carolina. Everyone's going to be open carrying there. Like everyone's going to have guns. If I don't bring my guns, I'm not going to have a gun, and everyone is going to laugh at me. So I have to fly with my guns. I got to bring like the whole like armory there,
Don't
like to validate.
don't
that
fly
I'm,
with
like,
too many.
serious.
TSA will get pissed off. They won't lose your guns, but just don't take the ones you like that much.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
There you
try.
go.
You're like, hey, this is half the point
Drive
of
to North
buying a
Carolina.
gun, is so I can show it off. But
I'm not.
Yeah. Why else?
I'm not
would
a big
I-
fan of
would I
open
buy
carry in
guns?
general,
I
but
can't show it off.
I think it's kind of silly. But I do like it if you have like a really nice looking gun. Why not? Come on, it looks cool. Like if you have a single
Yeah.
action army, if you conceal carry that, you're stupid. You should just have that like loud and proud on the hip.
yeah, dude, Bobby, that sounds fun as hell. Like, if you have a link, shoot it over. And
Oh, yeah.
if it's
Yeah,
not
it does.
super expensive,
I'll definitely
Yeah, that
shoot
sounds-
it over.
I'm down.
Oh no, it is very cheap,
Like how cheap?
and it's like 50.
What?
It's like $50
What?
for like
Dude,
4
I
days or
spent-
something like that. It is really cheap. They have very interesting classes. It's like right on like a lake, and you have like all these lake activities that you can do too. And it's like it's basically a vacation where you learn how to like
So-
survive.
Do you have
And
to bring
It's not like
stuff
an
with you?
It's just
intense
like a
thing,
4
so
day.
it's just like-
Yeah.
It's like a
it's-
4 day canning retreat. Is that it?
I mean, it's
It basically,
I was gonna-
yeah. I'm,
See,
I'm
this just
very
sounds like a
excited.
replacement for a farm upbringing for me. Like that's
yeah. Well, and to me, it sounds like the reason why it's so cheap is because they're going to force you to get baptized in the river like afterwards or something. Maybe that's like a part of the catch.
Is there a religious undertone to this? I mean, it might be.
it's like a timeshare.
I mean, it's
you know,
North Carolina.
thing.
Oh, so Bobby, we're gonna welcome you to the Baptist faith when you come back.
Wait, let me. I'll just
Perfect.
send a link here now. Like you guys can take. I think it's great. I can't say I haven't been, so I can't be like this is the best thing ever. But just from like the photo galleries from other years, just from like the itinerary, like I mean the price is also just like it's like I pay more for like a campsite.
The flight will be
So
more.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I've
this
literally
looks.
spent more than double that price
Yeah.
for like a survival class. So that's nothing.
Oh, this is
Oh,
is
yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, this
Rick Austin's actually a really, really cool guy. Hang on, let's see.
It's really compelling live stream content here.
I mean, no, this looks really good.
Oh wait, there's it's discount tickets right now. until midnight of May 15th. So it's very timely because right now it's May 14th. So if you guys buy tickets, it's $59.95 right now. Then it'll go up to $89.95. But I mean, still, I mean, like $89.95 for a few days of cool prepper learning stuff is, I think it's worth it. And I've never been to North Carolina. And Toolcraft's in North Carolina. So maybe we'll hit two birds with one stone and meet up with some Toolcraft.
That looks fantastic. Yeah. Looks good.
Sounds like a good time.
Looks like kind of what I grew up doing, so yeah. Could teach all y'all soft California people how to put food in a can.
Yep. Yeah, my wife's getting very serious about it. She's looking at canning machines. Not really a machine. It's like a hand thing where like you take like a can and then you take like the lid. It's not like reusable, so it has to be like a new can and a new lid. And this machine like crimps it. It's like $500 machine, but I mean,
like the actual secret, you just use mason jars. Actually, putting things in cans is a hassle, and you can use the mason jar again next year.
What's up?
She does know.
Has she got any friends, man? Does she have any single friends?
Like, she is probably like the most prepper out of like all of her friends, and she keeps up to date with news. And so she's like, yeah, the world is really not in a good place. Like, screw buying stocks, screw crypto. At the end of the day, like physical goods, like a can of, I don't know, corn, like might be worth more than like all this money in the stock market. I mean, we're in a very like bearish market right now. And then with like crypto, like what happened with Terra and Luna, like with the stable coin that just like completely like crapped itself. Like it went from like being like Luna was $85 and now it's like 1 cent. It was like overnight basically. Like this is what people are putting their money and their like life savings in. It's just like this is like it's super unstable. Like now is not the time to be like, yeah, let's put more money into crypto. Yeah, let's put more money.
Now is the time to buy land, but that's...
like now is the time to buy land, but land is crazy expensive. So it's, I mean, just gotta. Hopefully, it becomes less expensive, but buy land. Gotta buy like.
That's the trouble with land is the inventory is limited by nature unless you want to move to the absolute middle of Nebraska and raise corn and pigs. Which
or like
nothing
half
wrong with
of California,
that.
Which is just like pure desert. And
that's BLM land.
But yep,
you can't buy that.
California property taxes alone for like a good plot of land, like you have to like have like a full-time job to pay for the
tell me about it.
Unless you bought it like 30 years ago and then you pay the same exact property tax rate as it was 30 years ago because of our Prop 13 and all of that, which is
so
fun.
On average my state has the highest property taxes in the country and I pay about as much. I pay equally. It's property tax, mortgage 50-50.
My God.
Well, yeah, like
I have a 20-year, not a 30-year.
Like
if I had a 30-year, it would be more. I would be paying more on my property taxes than on my mortgage, which is absurd.
Well, yours are variable though, right? Because like in California, they have this law that they passed in like the 60s called Prop 13, which like basically means that if you bought a property, the property tax is fixed for as long as you own it. So if you bought a property 30 years ago, you would be paying the exact same property tax rate.
Oh, no.
But
Whenever mine gets reappraised, I go up.
Reassessed at the highest value for the new person, yeah.
Oh, dude. Inheriting property must be awesome then.
Yeah, they've been trying to do a bunch of ballot measures to like block you being able to inherit property or transfer it, but like none of them passed, really.
It feels better when you're like exploiting a tax loophole than when, I don't know, like even if it's built into the system, it just feels so good to not be giving the government money.
That's true. Well, and and speaking of things you could give your money for, there, Aaron, I was looking. There is singlepreppers.com, You know, it does work. It's the survivalist singles.
The name
You
is
know, find
Testy.
your
The name
prepper
is
match.
Testy.
Yep.
My name is Testy.
Yes,
There we go.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Well,
Heard
see,
of
I
you.
just said Aaron.
Gotta
I
get
didn't
it right.
say who, so that's not on me.
Doxed yourself, my dude.
Yep, you just did.
So, should we roll into the news? Because one of
should.
these news pieces happened near me today, and it is very interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we all have some very strong feelings about it.
Definitely.
Interesting meaning
yes.
horrific.
Well,
Besides the
let's-
horrific aspect, I mean, I'm numb to that at this point. But of course, thoughts and prayers to the families. This is actually absolutely horrifying, and this guy is
Yeah.
completely psychotic.
For those of you that don't know, Buffalo, New York just had a mass shooting in a grocery store.
It's Tops, barely a
Earlier,
grocery store,
yeah.
more like Tops problems aside. Yeah,
or is it?
it's a
Got
grocery
it.
store. It's just
It's a chain.
It's the cheap one. Wegmans is better.
Oh, so it's like grocery outlet equivalent,
It's like Food Lion if you're in the South.
Okay.
Or, yeah.
or Piggly Wiggly,
Priced.
which is
You
my
have a
favorite
grocery
name for a
store
grocery
called
store.
Piggly Wiggly.
I
Piggly
love
Wiggly is the
Piggly
best
Wiggly.
grocery store name ever, and
That's
it's
a
like
real
only
thing.
in the South.
Yes,
That's a real
yes. Yes, yeah, it's a real thing. I lived in Memphis, Tennessee for a while. Piggly Wiggly's, they had pig tail. Only like one of the only places where you can find
I mean,
pig
hey.
tail.
Yeah. But in Buffalo, at a Tops, which is obviously worse than a Piggly Wiggly, this guy, 18 years old, resident of South Island near Buffalo, walked in with an AR that was illegally modified to not match New York standards, and he shot 10 people. He was wearing body armor. This particular Tops had armed security. He bought body armor and a helmet specifically rated to stop their pistols, which he had planned for. He wrote a manifesto, which was 180 pages long. I read most of it earlier today. It was
just batshit crazy.
It was interesting. And by interesting, I mean, yeah, batshit crazy.
Well, it's like batshit crazy in the way Mein Kampf is batshit crazy, sort of, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, it started off with the white race being erased. It read like a parody at some moments, and I'm like, these people exist. I guess they exist. But it began with a section on personal views, which basically are the Hollywood ideal of what this guy's personal views would be. But there was this very interesting chunk in there that I think was kind of speaks to the heart of this issue. And I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give him recognition, but he's like, I chose New York instead of driving over to Pennsylvania because New York has cucked gun laws, and I'm very unlikely to meet any resistance from law-abiding citizens.
Why do I have a feeling that's going to get left out of all the reporting?
I don't know. But I think
Wait, did
that
he actually write that?
yes,
he
that was
did.
in his 180-page manifesto.
Wow.
That's a direct paraphrase from him. And he wrote a section on how he illegally modified his rifle very easily in order to be able to change magazines. But yeah, he's made it extremely clear. He's illustrated through an act of horrific brutality that it is impossible to legislate this away. Unless by legislation you mean allowing people to protect themselves. Also, carry 10mm. It goes through 3A body armor.
200 grain Underwood Extreme is the load you want to carry as well.
Underwood ammunition. Those guys make the best ammo.
As someone who carries a Glock 20 for half the year, trust me, it does work.
Yeah, because if you run into a crazy with body armor, you don't want to be shooting some critical duty Hornady. You want to be shooting large chunks of lead that will go through anything but level 4.
Well, and so in New York, is the may issue provision statewide? I forgot about that, or is it just
Individual
vary by county?
jurisdictions have jurisdiction, essentially. So, I mean, one county over, it essentially is shell issue. Genesee County is basically, but Erie County, where Buffalo is good luck. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, so it really, I mean, he picked the right location to do this. and I'm not surprised. I'm coming at this analytically. I'm not particularly close to the situation emotionally, but he picked a place where people don't have guns to defend themselves. He got what he wanted and got away with it, and it's because of New York State's gun laws that he did.
Yeah. Well, and he actually killed the security cop based on
his plans were
that I read.
He had a chart drawn out of the store, and he had a plan in place to take out the security guard first. And the security guard shot at him, and his body armor worked.
Wow.
So they found it's been confirmed from some sources that his body armor has impacts on it. He got 3A pistol rated armor, and it worked against the Glock 17s that the security guards were carrying.
Coming soon to a California state legislature and New York near you. Probably banning body armor sounds like.
Well, actually,
I wouldn't put it past them. I mean,
in New York, we had a body armor ban that was floating around. It got kind of swept off to the side, but I would not be surprised to see it come back now.
Yeah, that sucks.
He had
actually
ARs on it, correct?
He did have a Bushmaster XM15. Yeah.
Yeah. My goodness, it seems like it's like everything a legislator, like a pro gun control legislator wants. It's like,
oh, this is a legislator's wet dream.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy's specific stated goal was the furtherance of the white race. That was his.
Yeah.
That was his focus there.
And he was also anti-Semitic. He was white.
Oh, very.
He had ARs, 2 of them.
I don't actually know if he had 2. Did he have 2?
Oh, okay. And then he had body armor. He was explicitly trying to target black people. Yeah, this is just insane. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and our hearts go out to the victims and their families, of course, and just a terrible incident. But yeah, I mean, case in point, it's every single gun law on the books is in effect in New York. And all it really did was just make it easier for a crazy person to shoot 10 people, which, CCW makes sense.
He eventually stopped.
He gave up.
The cops. Yeah.
The cops surrounded him.
He surrendered.
Yeah.
He was apparently about to shoot himself in the head, and they talked him out of it. I guess I read that on one report.
I have not seen that confirmed yet, and that doesn't match with what he said.
Yeah.
The one thing that really gets me about this, and it really gets me about very similar cases of this, is people like him and incidents like this. There's always early warning signs of something like this brewing within their mind or them planning this. If I remember correctly from reading some of the reports and reading bits of the manifesto, he had essentially a to-do list related to him planning this event that he uploaded to a Discord server he was a part of in March.
That's correct.
There's always breadcrumbs.
No, he was planning this somewhat openly. I know somebody who knows somebody who was in that Discord server and thought it was a joke.
Shit.
Yeah,
and they feel pretty bad right now.
There's always breadcrumbs, always bits and pieces, warning signs of this happening, and no one ever really acts on it. I was actually watching a video a while ago of a school shooting incident that I think happened in, oh boy, I want to say Sweden. Or Finland. I think it was, Finland. Where there's actually a person, because the shooter was a small-time YouTuber, another channel actually saw the warning signs of this and made a video saying, hey, watch out for this guy, look into this guy, there's something that's going to be happening. And no one did anything, because no one knew what to do either. You know, a U.S. YouTuber warning about a Finnish YouTuber, and the dude ended up shooting up his school. And there was so much evidence that was leading up to this event that someone could have said, hey, maybe we should look into this. Maybe we should bring this up. If at the least, contact Finnish authorities and be like, hey, I know this is a far stretch, but I think this may be something you should look into. it goes against my idea of personal liberty and privacy. But when there's enough of a backing to go, hey, maybe if I say something about this, it could save the lives of thousands of people from this fucking psychopath. Could be worth to do that.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I think I was just like, after, like, I mean, mass shootings are like pretty common in the States, unfortunately.
Not as much as you might think. Like that is a misconception. I want to, like, per capita, our mass shooting rate is pretty much on par with other nations at our level of development. Like
True.
Death by mass shooting is on par with Canada.
But
and the UK,
it's important to have a distinction on the context behind that. A lot of the mass shootings that are reported in statistics in the U.S. come from, drumroll please, gang and drug-related incidents. Like,
also true.
the incident in San Francisco a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
yeah, Sacramento.
Sacramento,
school
shootings specifically. Mass shootings. Well, that is character. You have to characterize that data, but we're still nowhere near the top. And I think that should.
And I think the majority of the mass shootings are like in a home.
If 2 or more people are shot, by most characterizations of the data, it counts as a mass shooting. So if 2 people shoot each other, which happens like every day in Chicago, all the time, that's a mass shooting, technically speaking. And considering the size of what?
Is it 2 or is it 4?
It depends on who you ask.
2?
Every town, I believe every town characterizes it as 2 or 3. The FBI has a different standard. You can play with the data any way you want. You can make it look like a mass shooting happens anywhere or nowhere.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, like, with all these statistics, like, I feel like a lot of them, like, the conclusion in all of them is like, we need more gun regulations, but then the statistics also show like, like what you're saying, Eugene, like, a lot of the times there's like early warning signs. A lot of the times, like the mass shooter was prohibited from even
this guy was legal.
Begin with.
Well, this is what makes me very confused and angry at the same time, because this absolute fucking idiot, he's a stupid kid. He got on 4chan during COVID and made the mistake of actually listening to 4chan. Rule 1 of the internet: never actually listen to 4chan. And he went a little nuts, went more nuts, and decided to shoot up this place. And, like, besides, I mean, if I had been there, I mean, we all know what we would at least try to do if we were there. That makes sense to all of us. But, I mean, it makes me angry that this guy who should go to the chair, unfortunately we don't have it in New York, made one of the best points and simultaneously worked against his own point. And that point was, he said, they will use this to write legislation to take your guns. That this is going to happen. That is in his manifesto. And he's completely right, and I hate that he's right. And what makes me angrier is that not only is he right, but he did it anyway. Like, come on, dude, don't give them more reasons. Just, it's a meme, but stop it. Get some help. If your ideas of sanity and rightness involve you shooting up a tops, you go home. Drink yourself to death. I don't care. Just don't shoot up a tops.
Or, go shoot up a pedo house or something, but not innocent people. It's kind of interesting point, too, that we have this linked on our website, but the FBI did a study of mass shootings between 2000 and 2013, and they basically profiled the behaviors of all of them, and it's like some very interesting findings. I think we'll probably retweet this again, but, essentially active shooters always take time to plan for the attack. 77% of them spend a week or more. Another interesting statistic is basically that 25% of active shooters in the study have never even been diagnosed with a mental illness. And finally, like, the most appropriate for this case is teachers in school. So, like, for active shooters under the age of 18, schools, peers, and teachers were more likely to observe concerning behaviors than family members, but yet they do nothing about it. It's just, it's interesting, though, because, I mean, that report, like, they didn't recommend any sort of gun control, but more mental health and screening and that sort of thing. But, most of them fit a very recognizable pattern, but people aren't identifying that early enough, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like this is just kind of the direction like the world is going in. It's kind of like the you do you kind of thing, where I think this is where like I feel like people aren't saying things as much because they're like, oh, I don't want to like get all in this person's business. You do you, and then I'm just gonna keep quiet.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, I mean, like living in San Francisco, I don't know if it's like as bad elsewhere, but it's like, you just see people like doing drugs in the middle of Market Street with shit all over them, and people just walk right by. It's sad. No one gives a shit about, observing any of these things or even trying to help in some cases.
I mean, that wasn't normal 10 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
Everything has changed very rapidly.
I mean, I did see a guy with no pants in San Francisco, but that was for a totally different reason. And I don't think it was homeless when I was in, elementary school on a visit. But, I think we came there during Pride Week and my parents didn't know. And it was kind of hilarious, but
it happens.
It happens.
Well, that's that. I mean, that if you knew what to prepare for, you could have prepared for that. But that's yes. A different story. But yeah, that's what's happening in New York right now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see.
And of course, somebody's going to tie it into concealed carry and constitutional carry, which this has absolutely nothing to do with that. It more likely would have prevented that. Everyone's going to ignore that. Everyone's going to continue walking forward with the blinders on and repeating whatever they see on News 8 MSNBC.
Yeah, I mean, with the mayor of New York City, right?
Eric Adams, my favorite.
Yeah. Yes.
Being alive.
That's our next story. He's very concerned. Very concerned.
In a response to the Supreme Court case, he was talking about how if the prohibit restrictions on carrying in public get overturned, he was talking to his law advisors, legislators, to see if they could set up I'm literally not BSing. Like they could set up gun-free zones, and this is literally what we're just happened. Those places are being targeted by mass shooters. So this is just ridiculous. It's just insane.
I mean, there are two places that you should not be allowed to carry guns. Courts, because courts are supposed to be neutral and you shouldn't be able to show force in a courtroom, and any private property where they say you can't. That's it. And
probably airplanes, so you don't shoot through the fuselage, maybe.
Why? I want to carry on an airplane.
Because you snake shot.
Although airplanes are private property, and if they want to prohibit you from carrying on private property, they may. That's fine. If I don't want you to take a gun into my house, I can say, hey, you can't take that gun into my house, and if you try to anyway, then, you can get shot for that. And that's how private property works. But that's it. That's the rules. I mean, I understand that New York City really doesn't want nice people having guns. They only want the bad ones having guns. But hey, good job, New York City. You really make the rest of the state look great.
Yeah, it seems like they're not even looking at the data anymore, stats. They're just, how do I save my political career?
They haven't looked at the data in years. It's not a thing. Yeah. They don't know. They don't care. They have a political agenda to fulfill, and it's not going to be. They're not going to let some pesky facts, evidence, logic get in their way.
Well, as a New York City resident, I just want to say I agree with that. They don't really care.
Oh, no. They don't like you. They like the rich New York City people who do nice things like make millions of dollars. They don't care about the little people. all they do is get in the way and make it harder to get reservations. Am I on one tonight? I think I'm on one tonight.
I think so.
All right, somebody bring up Nancy Pelosi. Let's go.
Well, her nephew Gavin Newsom, they're related somehow. I forgot how, but anyway, Gavin Newsom, our governor of California, has been in the news recently, kind of on the same subject. Like, he has this weird obsession where he thinks that abortion laws give him the right to change gun laws. So he put some proposal in place. Yeah, the Texas law that got struck down. He basically is trying to set up a system to let California citizens sue gun dealers and anyone who sells, quote unquote, ghost gun parts within the state, as like a direct response to that. So it's just like, it's pure politics and it's a little weird. So
see, this one's been around for a while and I took a look at it. It's really weird because the Texas one was basically, okay, so we can't actually make abortion illegal. So what we're going to do is we're going to let you sue anyone else who had an abortion to punish them for it. Oh yeah, yeehaw, cowboy hat. And so obviously that doesn't work. You can't make something illegal just by making it civilly prosecutable. So I believe the Supreme Court ruled on this and was like, yeah, that's not how it works, buddy. But now California decided, well, it's not okay when they do it, but it's okay when we do it. So we're going to do it. Is that like a
pretty good? I mean, that's kind of like how Newsom's like operated for his entire governorship, I feel like. So,
man, California has a really good history of just electing the hot governors who really have no brains.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I mean, he's he is, I don't know, 90s Arnold hot. Today's Arnold not so hot.
I mean, pretty good for 70s, but
pretty good for 70, yeah, but
oh yeah.
Ironically, Arnold Schwarzenegger was one of the best governors you had in recent years.
Yeah, exactly. That ass from the Terminator. I mean, need I go on?
What did they call Jerry Brown? Was it Moonbeam?
Yeah, Governor Moonbeam, I think.
Yeah. It's just like,
Well, that was his dad, though. I feel like Governor I have no idea because it's so incestuous because it's like, kind of similar to the Bushes, like Jerry Brown Sr. was governor for a while, then his son was governor, but then his son came back and became governor again for like the last 12 years, which is like, I thought we had term limits, but apparently not. So that's fun.
Do you have the thing Virginia has where you can't be governor twice in a row, or is that?
Yeah, you can't be governor twice in a row. So, but he like a 20-year gap between him being governor the first time and the second time happened, and somehow that was okay. Like I didn't realize that was legal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. And speaking of other fun arbitrary rules in California, every Heckler and Koch, I'm probably mispronouncing that, but
it's pronounced Heckler and Koch.
Heckler and Koch, H and K. I mean, everybody knows that. Every single model was just suddenly removed from our quote unquote safe handgun roster last week. So from what I've heard on Reddit, like some people were even in the situation where they were drossing one, which means, that's the 10-day background check waiting period, what we call it in California. And their weight was up and then they were told sorry, we can't sell you the gun now because it just dropped off the roster, and apparently no rhyme or reason for them getting dropped at all, even though it was a somewhat limited selection. Did you get the notice about that, Bobby?
Wait, this is the only gun law change I've ever seen that only targets rich people.
Yeah, pretty much.
I feel like this is weird because it's like when you're drossing, you technically purchase,
but the transfer hasn't happened yet.
I mean, it could be just a FUD FFL. I mean, let's be honest.
It hasn't completed yet. So the 4473 is pending. So the firearm is technically sold, but
so the FFL would be legally required to refund it then.
Yeah,
they have to refund it. But the thing, dross normally is very quick. Rarely does it take very long to get the response from dross, and whether if this person is eligible or not. So it's if this person purchased it, paid the money, like drove past, and then they're like, oh, never mind. Even though you drove past and you actually bought the firearm, you can't have it anymore. I think that's pretty.
Yeah, like I
pretty
said, that's
crappy.
also somewhat of the problem in California. I'm sure it is elsewhere, but like our laws are so complicated that like certain FFLs are just like, if it's like I don't understand the law, they just say you can't do it.
I have had some very interesting fights with some very stupid FFLs. Like, no, this is legal. Learn to read.
I think on the FFL side, I think there's a lot of, I think a lot of people tend to err on the side of like safety.
Oh, it's
just because like I think this past year it's been like the record number of FFLs being revoked. So it's like and for a lot of these owners, this is their like livelihood. So like if they were to like they would rather be like, oh, we don't want to do something that could be a little bit on the gray area and like be safe.
Actually,
then I mean,
no,
like,
go ahead, Bob.
there's
Sorry about that. Finish your thought. I just wanted to add in something that I think a lot of people may find a better understanding of.
Yeah. I think, especially in California, a lot of the gun laws are written very like ambiguously. Like it's like it can be interpreted by law enforcement differently, and it can be interpreted by like the judge differently. So it's just like it's written very, very, very loosely, just so that like they can be like, oh, I mean, like for example, like in California, if you modify your handgun basically at all, it can be considered an unsafe handgun. So it's like, oh, let me switch out the trigger. If it's not a stock trigger, it's considered it could be considered an unsafe handgun. So it's like it's like no one has gone to court for that, but like just how broad it is, it could be argued that something as small as that could be breaking the law or making the handgun.
I still can't decide if New York or California is worse, but Massachusetts might be the worst of all.
Yeah.
But I mean, wow.
I mean,
Although-
eventually we
although
could be
here-
the worst, because if no handguns qualify for the roster and they keep dropping them off, then it's like all of a sudden you don't have anything that you can purchase.
Well, and if that
Except for, like,
happens, then you have
revolvers.
a very good court case. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we can't buy arms in common use. Where's the line here?
Yeah. So as like a addition to that, many of you may know that whenever you go to a gun range with a tax stamp item, an NFA item, for those of you that live in a state in which you may own these things, the range asks to see the tax stamp for that item.
They can't do that.
Yeah. So legally, you don't have to show shit to the range.
Or
If
any
you-
local cops.
Yeah, the only person that has to see it is the ATF. If they demand to see your tax statement, you'll be able to produce it readily. However, it's a move to cover the range's ass in the event something is wrong with that item, person, or they get a surprise visit for the ATF for their audit, which has happened to my range before. And while legally you do not have to produce it and show it to the range or local police, for a range specifically, if a city really wanted to tie up the range in litigation and use that as a basis, they can and they have. And so generally, if you're cool with a range, like you know the staff there, you've been a member there for a while, and you bring in a new NFA item, they're not really going to care. I don't care when our regulars come in with a new can. As long as we know that they have the right paperwork in case the ATF does come by, go have fun.
Well, I mean, that liability isn't on the range. The ATF
No, it isn't.
wouldn't,
but-
but the range wants to avoid that
Yeah.
hassle, just in
Yeah.
case the ATF decides, oh, you know what? Jimmy, well, we don't like Jimmy today.
Yeah. Oh boy. If Jimmy's Gunnabaloo is letting this happen, what else are they letting slide? Oh, how about we hold your FFL for a while and conduct a little investigation?
Thankfully, you don't need an FFL to run a range.
Yeah, but you get the point I'm making.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I'm good friends with my local range owner, and well, we don't live in a place where NFA items are legal at all, except for him. So that's yeah.
Well, and then California, like when we had Iraq War veteran 888 on the state, it's like it's weird if you're in the movie industry because you can get NFA items for that relatively easily, but only on use in the movie set.
The whole there have been some updates on the Alec Baldwin case that we should talk about in the future together.
We need to do another Alec Baldwin special. Yeah,
there were some interesting developments in that. Moving along. These are a couple of New York things, so I can go through these real fast because they're both stupid. So, New York City, in its infinite wisdom, has banned, or New York State, you can't ship pepper spray into New York because obviously pepper spray is an offensive weapon that's only used to oppress people. So yeah, that's illegal. It's stupid. Even like the normal people are beginning to say, "Oh, well, this is stupid. I should be able to have pepper spray. What am I going to do? Rob a convenience store with a can of pepper spray?" So that one's just the New York Post, which is actually relatively pro-gun, being like, okay, you know what, this is stupid, let's publish this op-ed. The second one is really, really fucking dumb. So the dear mayor of our favorite city in New York State, Eric Adams, is calling for Polymer 80's FFL to be revoked because ghost guns are showing up on the streets of New York. Now, this one's really funny. So, Polymer 80 does have an FFL, but the only things they sell under that FFL are serialized frames. So if you revoke their FFL, all they're going to sell is unserialized frames.
Tell me you don't know what
Logic.
you're talking about.
So much logic. Eric Adams, man. Oh, he also said he was going to carry a gun as mayor, and he so far has not, even though he can because he's a retired cop, unlike the rest of the city.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's my mayor, so I know, man. I know all about the hypocrisy.
Dude,
maybe he's just not printing. I don't know.
No, he was asked about it, and he was like, "Nope, I'm not carrying, not at all." Yeah.
Pay no attention to the two men behind me with.
Yeah, I'm not carrying. I let other people do the dirty work for me because I'm rich now. I mean, going out of order in this news as well, we can just kind of segue into this other guy who a gun expert in Kansas City. Let's find his name.
Yes, his name is Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil. I'm just kidding.
This Kansas City gun expert named Ben Bitler. He says that
that's a name that strikes me like a gun expert.
Building a ghost gun takes time, effort, and a level of expertise. It does not take 30 minutes to build one of these. It takes hours, if not days, to build one of these kits. Now,
especially if you're 3D printing all the parts yourself. I mean, that's
the
schooling on that, right?
Now, he's actually he's batting for our team here. He's like, no, this is hard to do. I mean, he's wrong, but you can totally do it in 30 minutes with a knife and a hand drill. That's not difficult at all in any way. But he is batting for our team here, so we appreciate him. And so, for anybody who doesn't like us who's watching this, it is extremely difficult. Don't need to worry about it. Nobody stupid can do it. Only people you like are able to actually do this. Okay? Cool.
Great. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess
although
other than...
He is right. It is faster and cheaper to buy a black market gun than to build an 80%er. That is actually true.
That is absolutely true.
If you don't live in a weed legal state and you know a way to buy weed, I guarantee you are also able to buy a gun off the radar easily. Don't do it, but it's totally doable, and it will be cheaper than building a Polymer 80.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and it's like, if you're a convicted felon that beats his wife, your wife has to wait 10 days before she can get her handgun, and he can go down to his weed dealer and get one in 10 minutes. So what's the point of a waiting period?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only other piece of news we have today is the president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro. He is big on guns. He likes guns. And he wants to make Brazil have more guns, which is probably a good thing considering that Brazil is already awash in guns and most of them are owned by the cartel.
Well, his stance was really interesting. He said something about, like, if you go through the article, which we'll post in the description below, he talks about the benefit of the citizens having guns because the government can't control them.
I mean, half of the videos of defensive shootings that we get come from Brazil where it's off-duty cops. Well, wouldn't it be great if more of those weren't off-duty cops and it was just like random suburban mom in Brazil fucking pops off three cartel members who are trying to abduct your children. I mean, for purely content purposes, I obviously don't want more people to be shot, but it would be cool to see more of those as opposed to more officer-related ones, because that would mean more cartel members are fucking around and finding out.
For sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I think I was reading somewhere that, like, in Brazil, taxi drivers are cash only. Like, very few of them have credit cards, so they're a huge target for robberies. And like same with like ride sharing services in general. That was like a whole big controversy with like Uber and Lyft when they were first kind of rolling things out. So bare minimum, you would think, hey, more drivers should be packing heat.
I mean,
well, it seems like it's going to pass, though. I mean, we don't know. Like, apparently he's like running up for re-election, but even if he doesn't win, apparently they're going to pass it either way. So that's from the article. It seems that way.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, other than that, actually, we really didn't. Yeah, we're done with news. Only thing I kind of wanted to highlight was, since we have Malcolm and he who must not be named on the podcast there, just wondered if you wanted to discuss the really cool Rodney King riots 30th anniversary coverage that you had done. I was really impressed with that, so I just wanted to call it out in case you guys haven't listening to the show, haven't checked out our Twitter feed or Instagram or any of that. Felt like you guys did a really good job with that.
It was, I mean, I don't personally write on the AAPI Go Twitter. I mean, they retweet me sometimes, so I appreciate it. But I have, it was fantastic. That breakdown was phenomenal. You just need to use the little, this is going to be a thread, and put the thread icon there, because I will always click on that every time. And that, it was very good. If we keep doing that, I mean, okay, if you're watching this and you're not following the Twitter, you should be following the Twitter. It is good. Very good general sense of what's going on in the gun world without any, well, for now, zero tattooed bicep people running around in the middle of nowhere with doing really stupid drills involving shooting into cars. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but you should follow the API Go Twitter. It's actually phenomenal. And that's all thanks to Mr. Testicle and Mr. Malcolm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Also,
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook and every other channel.
Yeah, those are for normies, though. Follow the Twitter.
That's true.
Instagram and
The
Facebook.
Twitter's better.
Leave Instagram and Facebook. Get on Twitter. Because, I mean, Twitter's about to become cool again.
And all the cool kids are, going to go back to Twitter from Rumble and Truth Social. So,
Well,
we'll
I don't
see.
use iOS devices, so I can't actually use Truth Social. I'm being discriminated against by Donald Trump himself.
How dare he?
I finally know how it feels. I'm voting for Joe Biden next time.
Yeah, too late. At least one of us did. Took one for the team. But yeah. Oh, the only thing I would say, like on our Twitter handles, some if you search AAPI Go, they all should pop up, but some of them are like kind of variants. So if you're looking for like at AAPI Go, that's like some random person in New Zealand that I contacted once in a blue moon to say, hey, can we have your handle? And they said no. So we're AAPI_gun owners in a lot of places. But if you search AAPI Go, it should pop up.
I mean, if you want to follow me, don't. But you'll find me occasionally on the timeline, and my name will be obvious. But don't.
The sacred
You
timeline.
don't want to. Don't reference that show. It was bad.
Yeah, it was kind of bad.
Yeah.
I did like Doctor Strange too, though.
Oh, that was good. But that other one, no. All right, we're turning into a movie review channel now.
We are.
Hitman's
yes.
Wife's Bodyguard, excellent. Sonic 2?
I need to see that.
Sonic 2 is very good.
Is it? 'Cause I was pleasantly surprised by the first one, actually.
It stays good.
The film, oh God, I'm not going to be able to say this correctly because of the title is so ludicrous, but Everything Everywhere All at Once, especially if you are an Asian American, I feel like is a film you should probably watch that will hit you in a way you weren't expecting.
Are you telling me that Crazy Rich Asians is not actually an accurate representation of all Asian people in the United States?
It is, but for the same 1% of people that can own guns in New York, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Wait, let me rephrase that. People who can conceal carry guns in New York.
Oh, well, that's Trump and probably other people we don't know the names of. Right, Trump got his New York's concealed carry. That's insane.
He did?
Yeah, he did.
Recently, or has he had it for years?
No,
or
it was like he got it back in like the early
80s, probably
early 2000s. Right? No, they didn't have it before then, but he got one, which is, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, what is Trump packing? I mean, I'm envisioning like a gold-plated Desert Eagle or something.
Nah, he has a few different guns.
Oh no, what Trump is packing is approximately 4.2 inches, as well as a 1911.
There you go. I mean, I guess you'd have to ask Stormy Daniels on the side of the first one.
Actually, that answer's online, and I'm not going to repeat it out of respect for the earballs of our listeners.
Yes, exactly.
But she actually described it in court rather graphically. It was quite impressive.
I'm gonna put my.
Put it this way: have you played Mario? If you played Mario,
Kimber.
It's a me,
Yoshi.
Mario.
No, it's like Yoshi. No, not Yoshi. The mushrooms. The mushrooms.
Oh,
yeah, you know
toadstools.
Yeah, toadstools, something like that. That was the descriptor. Yeah. What were we talking about?
we
Our transition
started
to a
with
movie
Rodney
review
King.
channel.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, yeah. If anything, I don't know if anybody else has anything you wanted to pitch or chat about. Bobby, where can we find your wonderful website and order a shirt with a dumpling and an AK?
He's not on.
He left. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It got late for him, unlike for you fellas.
Yep.
But
well,
I have
it's
to
late
go...
for me too. I'm in the same time zone.
I mean, after this, I have to go stream Valheim with a friend of mine, which I only just started playing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Maybe I should just Twitch stream and talk about guns.
Yeah, you should just like actually do it stealthily. That would actually be kind of fun. I wonder if you would get censored if you were just like rambling off about guns, playing Elden Ring or something. But
you
just,
can
like, your
show
commentary has
guns
nothing
on
to do with it.
Twitch. I refuse to play Elden Ring because I don't have enough time as is. But yeah, as long as you talk about, I don't know. Twitch is annoying because you can't say certain words that I really like saying. Not the really bad ones. Just like, calling people mentally slow in a deliberate fashion is frowned upon in Twitch.
Really quickly, just because I scrolled past it. The phrase "never let a tragedy go to waste" is very accurate when it comes to the likes of Shannon Watts, who apparently went on MSNBC in the immediate aftermath of the Buffalo shooting to call for the Senate to confirm the ATF director, quoting, "We need action, not just thoughts and prayers." Good on you, Shannon.
Yes,
action
mothers
on
do
what
demand
exactly?
action.
That's what I want to know. What exactly could the ATF have done to prevent this? Oh, that's right. Not much. The only thing that anybody could have done to prevent this would be to loosen New York's gun laws, allow the security guards to carry proper SBRs like they should be. I mean, if you're doing building security and you're not packing some larger heat than a 9mm Glock, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
You should have a shorty. You should have a 10mm PCC. Something big. Like, go for it.
Yeah,
But
I
this is
don't
New York,
know
so we
if
can't
I
have
should be sharing
SBRs.
this or not, but at our range, we all have a rifle within like a second's reach, and some of us do walk around with the rifle slung if they're going to be behind the counter most of the time.
That's normal for a range. At my local range, everyone wears their plate carrier and rig on duty.
Yeah.
Open carries the largest gun they have on hand that they like. It's pretty much 50-50 split CZ Glock at this point, actually. There's some CZ people. And if anybody were to try anything, there are a number of guns of varying levels of legality and lethality under the counter that will be dispatched with great speed into as many exposed parts of your body as exist. That's a pretty normal expectation when walking into a gun store or a gun range. If you fuck around, you will find out with the quickest of speed and the
that's why
highest
I'm
of calibers.
Yeah,
kind of freaked out about Twitter because I mean, hopefully they're not going to do this, but rumblings are, we should ban body armor. I mean, that has a completely legitimate safety use for range officers there. I mean, but politicians being how they are, law of unintended consequences, that could just be like devastating for the entire range industry.
There is no, body armor isn't arms. There's no Second Amendment protections for body armor, but that's fucking stupid. You should own body armor. It's just a smart thing to own, even if you don't own a gun. Body armor, it's not that expensive. My set cost me like a total of $250. I have level 4 plates and a perfectly decent carrier. I just waited for a sale. But you should own body armor. Why would you rather not have a bulletproof vest than have a bulletproof vest?
Yeah.
Well, and even for training, a lot of it's required. I remember when we did our event, if you were on the rifle range, they said, bring a plate carrier.
Even if you don't use it, you should have...
Yeah.
Even if you don't actually train with it, it's a perfectly good weight vest. It weighs like 10 pounds. You can go for a jog and look badass.
Yeah, I went for a mile jog with my plate carrier on, and it fucking sucked, but feels good to be able to train with your gear.
I would wear it around town, but unfortunately, I'd probably get the cops called on me because I'd look like somebody would think I could probably wear it around town. I just couldn't go to Tops. Let's put it that way.
That would be fair. That's probably a safe idea.
Too soon.
Yeah, literally too soon. I would I would probably end up in an interrogation room like, what are you doing? I'm going on what are you doing?
I'm going for a jog. I'm trying to stay fit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
I
a
will-
weight vest. That's
cigarettes.
what the guy at the garage sale told me.
I will
Trying to
say,
make weight for the wrestling team.
as much as it is important for you to get training with your firearms and your gear and kit, also get training on your medical supplies as well. There's nothing more useless than you having a hunk of medical gear on your kit that you don't know how to use, and you just making it worse. Take a class, learn how to use it, learn how to save a life. I was fortunate enough to finally be able to take a Stop the Bleed class. And let me tell you, it seems like basic shit, but you need to be able to practice it and be able to know it, because you could be the only thing that stops a person from bleeding out to death after they've been stabbed or shot.
Always have a tourniquet in your pocket.
Have tourniquets. If you can, carry gauze, chest seals, or an Israeli bandage. Don't use tampons to try and fix a bullet wound. Please don't. You're going to kill them faster through pure cringe.
What if you have like a like a culinary blowtorch? I mean, is that going to do it?
Actually, yes, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
if it's
you can also
if it's an extremity, yes.
Yeah,
you can rip
bring some butane in your.
can rip the round out of a bullet and pour the gunpowder on to set it alight and cauterize the wound. Don't actually do that.
I mean, you could. Don't, but you could.
Don't.
Alternatively, I mean, if you have a hot gun barrel, that will work to stop bleeding quick.
Yeah. Remember,
Got it.
Tourniquet if it's an arterial bleed, if it's squirting, if it's bright blood, if it's a pooling wound, pack it tight, make it hurt, because hurting now means saving their life later.
This is the really nice thing about being married to an EMT is I can just be like, hey, remind me how to do this. She'll be
And
like,
hurt
oh,
me
yeah.
good while you do it.
Oh, no, she's tried to practice CPR on me before. I don't want another rib broken.
Hey, now.
No, I'm serious. A proper CPR will break your ribs.
Yes. Yep. Thank God for the Good Samaritan law.
Yep. As long as you have one. Check your state laws before attempting to save a life.
Yeah,
because,
during our class, one of our guys was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be the victim," and we put like a rig on his arm that was like squirting out blood from a prosthetic wound. And the instructor in the class was like, "All right, I need you to act like you're in a lot of pain, thrash around." The dude deserved an Emmy award for his acting. He was kicking tables. He was like flailing around.
uncontrollable. That's how it should
Yes.
be, yeah.
Yeah, and at a certain point, one of our guys had to use, he's 260 pounds, put all the weight on his knee, pinning down his leg, yanked his arm to get the tourniquet through, and at a certain point, used his elbow to push down on the guy's face to get it nice and high.
Nice.
Wow.
Method acting. Well, he kept the guy in character by actually applying extreme pain.
Yes.
And then, I mean, hey, that's actually
Some people
really
pay
cool.
good money for that.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That's my PSA for this episode. Get medical training, learn how to use your gear. Don't be cringe.
So, I own a tourniquet kit, but it's not very good. So I was looking at Amazon while we were doing this, and just found this Amazon review. Glad I bought these. They do the job. I was driving down one of my roads back home when some liberal thugs did a drive-by spraying a MAC-10, and I got caught in the crossfire. One of the rounds entered and exited out the other leg. I was able to use these in a timely manner.
Damn
Nice.
those liberal thugs.
Damn those
Exactly.
liberal thugs
Damn
with their
them.
MAC-10s. That's I mean, if liberal thugs are carrying MAC-10s, I want to make friends with the liberal thugs. That's pretty cool.
Remember,
Maybe
if you're
that's the
being-
Socialist Rifle Association, possibly.
The
Right.
least
Being-
practical machine pistol ever made.
If you're being chased by an angry man on the road, remember to reach to your glove compartment, pull out your Glock, and take the safety off.
Yes, always take the safety off your Glock. No, I remember
Words to
reading
live by,
that. I
right?
didn't even, I just read it and I was like, oh, this guy's a
mean,
fucking idiot.
Fun fact. Apparently, Glock does make a specific model with a manual safety. But
Yeah,
they're
you know
banned from
why?
imp-
Really?
You know why? It was
Well, it's not on
specifically
the
for
safe
their
handgun
military
roster.
contract, because the military contract required that they have a manual safety. So it was for the Marines who couldn't draw without shooting themselves in the leg, I guess. Respect to Marines, but sometimes y'all eat a few too many crayons. I know what crayon fever looks like, and it's nasty.
Slightly better than lead-based paint, I guess.
Slightly, maybe. I mean, crayons used to also be lead-based colors too. So who knows
That's
what
true.
those boomers got up to? Oh, that's nice. Amazon just recommended Reacher to me, which has a guy firing a 1911 on as its cover photo, and it's just this 1911. Or no, sorry, it's a Deagle, and it has the slide all the way back, no muzzle flash, no smoke, and the gun is perfectly level. Because
Man's got that recoil control.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's standing like this, like
Well, he's also gigantic. I mean, like the actor in that show. I don't know if like everybody in Titans was just short, but like he was like massive in that show.
my guess is that's actually a gas blowback airsoft replica, which is why
could
it has no recoil. But yeah, it's just a little bit humorous. Having shot one of those, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
Still need to get it gold plated.
you do. It is not that easy. Although, and also you can't keep a straight face. That's impossible.
No.
Well, should we wrap it up for the evening, gentlemen?
Let's wrap it up. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining. And we're hoping to make this more regular again there. So hopefully going back onto weekly schedule, bi-weekly anyway. So yeah, this has been the AAPI Go cast for May 14th, 2022, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We're keeping that in there.